Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel T-Spot. In this video, and this is a breakdown and review of Tulsa King episode 8 titled Adobe Walls. The 8th episode begins with a hilarious sequence where Dwight and Mitch try to teach their associates how to use guns. They're doing this because they know Black McAdam might come after them following Pike's death. But most of these lads are clueless, especially Tyson. I mean, just look at him. Grace is the only capable shooter, but she doesn't want to be doing this stuff. And she expects an apology from Dwight for turning their lives upside down. Dwight does say he is sorry, and Grace wants him to lead them out of this mess. And Dwight knows that his army of misfits won't do, so Mitch introduces him to a couple of friends, Maz and Ben, and they will kill without remorse. Also, Jimmy will introduce Dwight to some badass cowboys that can help him because Badface has apparently been arrested, so he's not available. This conversation takes place at the bar where Dwight explains the casino plan to Jimmy. Jimmy's name will not be directly tied to all the assets, thanks to an anonymous trust structure. Mitch will transfer the bar ownership to Jimmy, and then Jimmy will be able to get their gaming license. Jimmy's cut will be 20%. Even though Jimmy seems to like the plan, he needs some convincing by Bodhi at Dwight's store. Jimmy wants to know why Bodhi is going into yet another business with Dwight. And Bodhi describes the general as a force multiplier. Though, despite being co-opted, abducted and raided by the feds, Bodhi puts up with it because he's going to make a lot more money than he otherwise would have. And Jimmy is convinced. In the meantime, Dwight is dealing with the two corrupt troopers who arrested Tyson back in episode 5. They're in the pockets of Waltrip, who is now on the run, and we'll get to why that is in a little bit. But the bent coppers pull Dwight and Tyson over, and Dwight slowly walks out of the car and approaches them with his hand under his jacket, saying, quote, "All right, listen up carefully. My hand is wrapped around a 357 Magnum with 158 grain hollow points that will leave a hole you could put your freaking fist through. You want to see your loved ones. Tonight? I want you to rethink whatever stupid, ill-conceived idea that moronic biker is putting you up to getting your car. Put it in gear and drive the frick away." End quote. So basically, Dwight reads the situation perfectly and calls their bluff. He knows they're not really going to put their lives in danger for Waltrip, so he is successful. They get in their car and drive away. And the funny thing is, Dwight actually forgot his gun back at the hotel. So quite a badass moment here. That had a funny ending. Also in this episode, Dwight gets a couple of phone calls, firstly from his daughter Christina. She is still considering moving to Oklahoma, but Dwight puts a pin on that with everything going on in Tulsa. And it will get even more chaotic there because the second phone call is from Chicky, who tells Dwight that he's coming there soon with Goody and Vince. Chicky tries to make it sound like he's trying to make amends, who turn the page, but I don't think Dwight buys it. And it's a good thing that he doesn't buy it because earlier on there's a scene in New York showing Chicky discussing his plan to whack Dwight. Johnny the Zip is against his plot, but Chicky makes sure Johnny understands who's the new boss around here. So they're coming to Tulsa to get rid of Dwight. Time to talk about Waltrip. Now the FBI has a meeting with the ATF to discuss Dwight's shenanigans, but Stacy manages to turn their attention to Waltrip by bringing up his unreported wealth. Roxy told Stacy about this before she was killed, and the FBI is able to go after Waltrip with this money angle. They raid the Black McAdam headquarters, but Waltrip isn't there and neither is his Lieutenant Trucott. We see this duo outside an abandoned warehouse. They are on the run and Waltrip is doing some drugs while trying to send the corrupt troopers after Dwight. When that doesn't work, as we already discussed, Waltrip takes matters into his own hands by shooting at Dwight. Outside the Mayo, Dwight is having an argument with Stacy when Waltrip and Trucott ride in. Stacy spots them and everyone starts shooting. Trucott gets hit and falls from his bike. He is probably dead, it looks like. Stacy gets shot in the abdomen area, so Dwight gets her to COVID and Waltrip rides away. Tyson, who had just dropped Dwight off, comes back to check in on the situation. And Dwight gives Tyson the gun he used and he tells Tyson to hide it. So Tyson drives off. Then police surround the area and ask Dwight if he was involved in the shooting. Now, even though Dwight gave the gun to Tyson, there had to be security cameras outside the hotel showing Dwight firing his gun. And there's going to be gunshot residue on his hands. This is a problem because he's a felon, though he can't legally own a firearm. And if this wasn't a TV show, he would probably be going back to prison. But I guess they're not going to bring up the CCTV footage and Dwight will go free anyway. Why was Stacy outside the Mayo? To talk to Dwight. Well, she was there to rant about how Dwight ruined her life. She felt like she had to divert the FBI's attention away from Dwight because his going down would not be ideal for her career because her involvement with him would come up. We also saw her talking to her therapist, and it is revealed that Dwight reminds her of her father. The two things everyone wants to see: daddy issues and the ATF. Great. There are a few other things we have to discuss before we wrap this up. Firstly, Stacy learns about Dwight's relationship with Miss Devereaux when the FBI is discussing what they have on Dwight. And Stacy is clearly jealous, which is one of the reasons she goes to see Dwight. And talking of Devereaux, Dwight meets her ex-husband Brian, who apparently has not given up on her. So he draws a line in the sand and warns Dwight not to cross it. Dwight obviously dismisses Brian's warning. Elsewhere, Tyson makes his decision and leaves his family home after saying goodbye to his father, while Armand's wife decides to get a divorce after he makes it clear that he's done with running away. So both Armand and Tyson are choosing the life over their families. As for my thoughts, this was yet another explosive episode that perfectly sets up the final 2 episodes of the season. Firstly, with the upcoming alert war between Black McAdam and the Italian Mafia, and secondly, with Chicky's plot to get rid of Dwight. There's danger wherever Dwight turns. And despite that, the show is full of fun moments and entertaining characters. Mitch, for example, he was just perfect during the shooting drill scene. And then we've got some seriously captivating scenes, such as Armand and his wife's dinner conversation. The way the tension slowly builds up during that sequence was extremely realistic, and it was like watching a real couple getting into an argument. My biggest issue with this episode, and I guess the show as a whole, is how much I dislike Stacy. And I don't mean disliking in the same way as hating a villainous character like Waltrip. No, I mean Stacy is so annoying and unhinged that I want to skip forward whenever I see her. She is just terrible. Well, that's enough from me. What are your thoughts on episode 8? Let us know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching. See you soon.